Welcome back to another J. Harris Academy Police Training Roll Call. I'm Joey Sperlazza, Instructor. Today we're going to be looking at a Miranda case. Remember, for someone to waive their Miranda rights, their confession has to be given knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. Under that voluntarily part, we have to look at coercion. We can't coerce somebody to give a confession. That's what we're going to look at here in the State versus Merrill Spencer. This is a New Jersey Appellate Division unpublished opinion decided on August 6, 2024. The defendant argued that under the totality of the circumstances, the state failed to meet its burden and therefore his statement must be suppressed. The defendant claimed that his waiver and subsequent confession were involuntary because detectives repeatedly and directly contradicted the Miranda warning that anything said could be used against him. Specifically, he argued that the detectives improperly coerced him into waiving his Miranda rights and giving a statement by assuring him, contrary to Miranda, that waiving his rights would gain favor with the prosecutor, allow him to spend more time with his children, and make him feel better. He also argues that the detective's statements amounted to a promise that his statement would help him, not hurt him. Again, we're looking at that coercion piece of it. We can't coerce somebody to give that confession. We can't convince them that by confessing, that prosecutor is going to give him less of a sentence. So the court relied here on the New Jersey Supreme Court decision in State versus Erazo, which is decided in 2023. The detective's comments were permissible to appeal to his sense of decency. Contrary to the defendant's interpretation, the detectives did not promise leniency in exchange for a confession, minimize the seriousness of the crime, or tell the defendant that his statement could not be used against him. Instead, they urged the defendant to tell the truth for his own sake. The detective told the defendant, "I know that you're going to feel better when we talk about what we need to talk about, and just get moving on that and get on with it." A second detective added, "It's going to feel good to talk about it, as strange as that sounds, and it will feel like a weight lifted, I promise." The detectives did not promise the defendant that he would receive a reduced sentence if he confessed. Rather, they told the defendant, "I have conversations with assistant prosecutors and people who review the case. If I go back there and say that there was some regret, it's different than me going back and saying he came in, he denied the entire thing." That statement did not overbear the defendant's will, nor did detectives coerce a confession by stating, "You're not going to be in jail forever," and "I don't know how long you're going to be in jail. I don't know if the answer is forever, but I do know that you're going to do better because you're going to sit here and you're going to talk about what happened, and that's a step in the right direction." That statement was made in context of the defendant having told detectives his mother urged him to do better. Viewed in context, detective's statement referred to doing better as a person, not doing better in the sense of receiving a reduced sentence. That interpretation is further supported by the detective having told the defendant, "I do know that you're going to do better because you're going to sit here and you're going to talk about what happened, and that's a step in the right direction." Similarly, the detective urged the defendant to set an example for his 3 children, saying, "You can prove to them that you know what? If you make a mistake, you own up to it, and you say this is what happens." The court also rejected the defendant's contention that the detectives were obligated to determine whether he was under the influence of PCP, and their failure to do so leaves doubt as to the voluntariness of his waiver and his statement. A confession made by a person while under the influence of drugs is not per se involuntarily. The defendant did not appear to be under the influence, and no narcotics were found on the defendant's person or in his home. During the interrogation, the defendant denied smoking PCP the night of the murder, and after reviewing the video of the interrogation, the trial judge found that the defendant's answers were coherent and often detailed, and there's no indication that the defendant's rational intellect or free will were in any way impaired by drug use. During the relatively brief questioning, the interrogation lasted about 1 hour. The defendant was calm and cooperated with officers. He was familiar with the criminal justice system through his prior convictions and arrest. He demonstrated at least average intelligence and confirmed he could read. He was not subjected to a coercive interrogation, nor was he under the influence of PCP or any other drug. Accordingly, the trial judge did not err in denying his motion to suppress. His Miranda rights were not violated, and the detectives did not use impermissible interrogation tactics or otherwise violate the defendant's constitutional rights. In this case, they looked at applying to his sense of decency as not being overly coercive. We don't want to coerce people to give a confession. We can't give any promises to leniency. And in this case, the detectives did not do that. If you want to learn more about Miranda, learn more about the other cases that we've been examining, and have a conversation with us in person, sign up for one of our case law classes where we break these down in depth. Till next time, Joey Sperlazza. Stay safe.